Hello everyone and welcome to the Project Series. My name is Zachary Breer and I'd like to welcome you all to the very first Project Series. Our first guest today is an award-winning American chef, an LGBTQ plus activist, an empowerment trainer and coach, a business owner of this fabulous restaurant that we are in, Bubbles and Pearls, and candidate for Mayor of Wilton Manors, Josie Smith Malave. Hi Josie, how are you?
Hi Zach, how are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So first, we're in your fabulous restaurant, right?
Yeah.
So how does, your background and your culture really affect your business?
Oh yeah, well, that's a great question. Thanks for asking. Being Puerto Rican, Italian, and Filipino, I grew up here in South Florida and actually in the streets of Hialeah. And if you know anything about South Florida, Hialeah is a very Cuban-centric part of our little South Florida community. And I grew up around all my Cuban brothers and sisters and the history of Cuba, really. So I didn't really grow up so much around Puerto Rico, right? I didn't learn about Puerto Rico really until I moved to New York, but that's another story. How it influences my business, it's, South Florida is a multicultural city, right? We were known as the melting pot of the country. And it was because this is where, this is the intersection of so many different cultures and so many different, just different kinds of people, right? And it's very neat. It's a global town already. I grew up in this global city. So I guess you could say that it has definitely, this global city has influenced everything that I do, because being multicultural myself, Puerto Rican, Italian, Filipino, growing up in a multicultural city, and then opening a business, I feel like I really have my finger on the pulse when it comes to what the community needs and what would work in a city like this.
I love that. I love that so much. So, we're in essentially the heart, right, of your life, the heart of Wilton Manors on Wilton Drive. So what does this business, this restaurant mean to you?
So a lot of folks ask me, why did I choose Wilton Manors as opposed to, say, Wynwood or Coral Gables or even Fort Lauderdale, Las Olas? Why would I choose Wilton Manors? What made Wilton Manors stand out? And I'm going to tell you the reality of it is that, my wife, Marcy, a lot of folks in the community know her, Marcy Miller. She has been a part of this community for 13 plus years. She worked at one of the local watering spots, or as they like to say, the places to be seen, and that's Rosie's down the street.
We all love Rosie's.
Everyone loves Rosie's, right? And that's where everyone goes to be seen, and if you're a part of the community, if you want to have fun, you go to Rosie's. Well, Marcy worked there for 9 years, and so she was an integral part of just the lifestyle of Wilton Manors. When her and I met 6 years ago, we had our first date in this restaurant. And who would have known that fast forward, here we now own that restaurant where we had our first date. But that first night, she introduced me. There was another place down the street, just next door. I've watched the landscape shift and mutate and transform, and it's continued to cycle itself through the small business community. There's a little saying amongst the residents that there's a thing that they go, if how does it go? They say, oh, have you been to, let's just say, Bubbles and Pearls? Have you been to Bubbles and Pearls? Oh, well, how long have they been there? Oh, they just opened. Well, I'll wait 3 months and see if they stick. And that's that's troublesome for me. But that's not why I chose Wilton Manors. I chose Wilton Manors because on our first date, I came here and I had such a great time, and I couldn't believe that I was in South Florida, and as an LGBTQ member of the community, I felt so safe. I felt so free. I felt so open to express myself. I was walking hand in hand with my date that night, who's now my wife.
And we talk about that, and I don't mean to interrupt, but we talk about, I know we've both been to San Francisco.
Correct.
And it is such a different demographic than anywhere else really in the country.
Correct.
Being able to walk hand in hand with, your same-sex partner is something, I grew up in New England, a very, very small town. And it's not that it was frowned upon, but you would get the looks, you would get the stares, right? And there's a sense of judgment that comes with coming from a small town. And I honestly wouldn't have changed it for any other way. I love my small town very much. But there's something very unique about Wilton Manors. You and I had our conversation last night, and I told you, I actually love Wilton Manors more than San Francisco because of the entertainment, because of the sense of community that's here as well.
Yeah, and I really, as Marcy and I were dating, I started to really fall in love with this city. And then I rented an apartment in the city. I said, okay, well, let me, how do you get to know a city? You got to live there, right?
Yes.
So I rented this little studio apartment close to the drive where I could walk to and from the drive. And I just started to feel out the city. And quite frankly, it was so much fun. There was so many really interesting people. There was my family, the LGBTQ family here, out, open. No one seemed to mind us, and it just felt so vibrant. And being someone who's traveled the world, someone who's lived in New York City, San Francisco, and I've seen so much, I saw this potential, just this beaming glow of potential for Wilton Manors. And I said, this is where I'm going to open my business. Wow. Because I could go down to Wynwood and be a part of that whole lifestyle, but I'm a pioneer. And I really like to help and be a contribution to the communities that I'm a part of. I don't follow. I'm not a follower, I don't just blend into the background. I stand out, and that's how I've lived my life, and that's not going to stop. So I wanted to bring a little bit of me and contribute a little bit of me to this town that now I've met my wife, I've opened my first restaurant, I've built relationships and friendships who I now call family. I'm so excited really about being a part of this community because, it was small and intimate. It's the difference between playing, a small room in a club as opposed to playing a stadium. It's being able to really stay connected to my community and to my people, right?
I love that very much. And talking about demographics, and I do want to switch gears into your campaign. Wilton Manors is the second largest LGBT city in the country behind San Francisco.
Yep.
So how important do you think it is that the mayor be LGBTQ?
I can't say that I believe that the mayor of the second largest LGBTQ community in the country needs to be heterosexual. I don't think that that's entirely true. But we'd have to have a very woke hetero leading the city,
I think the importance behind it is understanding your audience, right? Read your audience, right?
Yeah, right.
So I guess I would really like to know, whether they are heterosexual and a part of the community, if that really would make a difference for voters.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll find out in November. We do have a straight man who's in the race right now. and he's running up against two lesbians, right? And we'll see how that all plays out. This town is a majority, identifying as straight, and the majority of our community is identifying as straight. However, the LGBT part of the community, which demographically is the minority, has invested so much into this community to make it what it is today. And I'm talking not just monetary investment, but energetic investment and blood, sweat, and tears. I'm certain of that. And this little city has come a long way because the LGBTQ community saw what we are all see in it.
Yes.
And we have come and invested our energy, our time, and our resources into making this city what it is today. So there's a real opportunity for all of us to work together, hetero, LGBT. This is, reframing what LGBTQAI plus means. And this is something that I was asked in a recent interview, that some folks have a concern that this city has become very LGBT agenda driven. And I hear that concern, and I understand that concern, and I want to reframe what LGBT even means. So that,
what does it mean?
So LGBTQAI plus, it is an acronym that represents us all in this community. It's the lesbian, it's the gay, the bi, the transgender, it's the queer, it's the A, and the A speaks to my heterosexual brothers and sisters who live in Wilton Manors. You are our allies. You are our allies, and we need you as a part of this community to create this inclusive city, this accepting city. And just imagine what we're able to do when we all align to this inclusion mindset, and the kids who grow up in our town, and how well-rounded and nurtured and open-minded that they become and go out into the world, and what they get to create coming from a city like that. And that's what, I get chills just thinking about it, but that's what LGBT, it's not just LGBT, it's LGBTQAI plus, and that includes our hetero brothers and sisters here in Wilton Manors. So I like to reclaim that, reframe it, and ensure everyone that if it's an LGBT, it's not just an LGBT agenda, it's an LGBTQAI plus agenda, and that includes us all.
Perfect, thank you. So I had reviewed your website, and I noticed your 3-step plan, which includes economic development, community, as well as public health and safety. So talk to me about your plan and any examples of any proposals that you may have.
Yeah. So like everything I do, you have to look at the whole picture. There's not just one way to handle it. You have to come from many angles. So these 3 bullet points are basically what is how I'm able to communicate the sound bites to the community, so that they can, okay, if this interests you, then you're able to then, if you're curious about the plan behind it, I have a very detailed plan behind it. My approach is multi-pronged. In economic development, we're talking about growth for our city. We have not seen growth, real growth in this city for 10 years. I could even challenge that and go back 20 years when we talk about our demographic here. 20 years ago, we were about at 12,000 residents. We're now at about 12,500 residents.
Interesting. Wow.
20 years.
Wow. It's a long time for such little amount of residential growth.
Okay, and you think about that for a minute, because then that means all of our homeowners here. What that does is it increases the tax, it keeps the tax base at a certain level, and it increases taxes on our residents. Because somebody has to pay for the city to keep operating, right?
Correct.
So we go from a $28 million budget, and just this past year, the new budget is at $41 million.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so the cost of our city is increasing, but our city tax base is not.
And we talk about economic development, and I think a lot of voters are concerned that Wilton Manors would be turned into a Fort Lauderdale.
Oh God,
you
no.
see cranes everywhere in Fort
Yes.
Lauderdale, skyscrapers being built, at least once a month. So when we really hear the words economic development, I think there is a stigma revolved around that, specifically about what it looks like. So what does that look like to you?
Yeah, so we have 2 new TOCs. These are called transit-oriented corridors, okay? Our city has gone through the process of changing the land use and allowing us to redevelop in these certain corridors, okay? We are talking about height and density, which has been a conversation again here in Wilton Manors for a long time. There's been some push and pull with the residents and the city, and I think it's just us really needing to sit down and have a conversation about how that could really look. Some of the proposals that are coming to the table right now, quite frankly, in my opinion, they seem a bit sterile. They seem a bit generic. Our city has a unique opportunity to lead the conversation in what small cities could look like. This is when we are to tap into the innovation and the talent that is right here within our city limits. In our LGBTQ community, there is so much talent, okay? We are brilliant. We are creative. We are resourceful, right? Being able to tap into and put an RFP out, a request for proposal out into our community first. We need some architects we want to work with who are here in the city. I get why we've chosen certain firms, consulting firms, to help us navigate through county and state compliance and just the whole process. I understand that. But when we're talking about building out our city, we need to have the eyes and ears of our community at that table. We need to be able to build this city in a way that's going to be innovative. It's going to be environmentally friendly. It's also going to incorporate workforce housing, which is such an important piece to our city growing. And workforce housing, I need to be very clear about workforce housing is. Workforce housing is something that we could offer to the 140 employees who work in our city each and every day and who can't afford to live here. Workforce housing applies to the teachers who work in our school, in our Wilton Manors Elementary, our Wilton Manors Junior High, and do not live in this town. Workforce housing could apply to the hundreds of employees who work in our arts and entertainment district and help keep this city fun and entertaining. Workforce housing is, I'm talking about the business owners who've had businesses in this neighborhood for many, many years, over a decade, and still cannot afford to live in this city. We need to take a look at how we are sending our money, the money people are making in our town, the resources they are creating in our city, and they're being forced to go and spend their money in other cities. We need to figure out the way that we retain that revenue here in the city. And we need to make sure that our city employees who help this city move forward every single day have the opportunity to also live here in Wilton Manors. Workforce housing is a huge piece to sustainable future for economic development. Then we got to talk about the kind of businesses we're attracting into this town. As we build up and we build out, again, respecting and protecting our single family residences, we must be proactive and very, very specific about the businesses that we want to offer incentives to. I have proposed that we're going to be offering incentives to our diverse communities, our people of color, and minorities in our community, to increase the diversity in our city.
So what does that look like, the incentives?
So, it could look like a few different things. Maybe it looks like us waiving a certain fee. Looks like help tax credit. Maybe that looks like a grace period. Maybe that looks like a free advertisement in one of our partnership local papers. Maybe that looks like a few different things. Multi-prong is this is what I say. But we want to attract minority-owned businesses into our town, because diversity is a great thing. It's a great thing for our city, because we need new perspective. We need different perspectives. Our different perspective, whether you're whatever race you are, whatever sexual orientation you associate with or you claim, whatever economic whatever economic spectrum you fall into, whatever your politics are, the diversity is what makes communities stronger. The strongest communities are the most diverse, and that's because the different perspectives help us to handle these different challenges that we face. Not you or I have all the answers, but together we have a whole lot more information and resources and answers at our fingertips. And then when you think about that, so I tell you about workforce housing, I tell you about minority incentives. Then on top of that, in terms of economic growth and development, okay, that's about these businesses. I want to attract new, forward-thinking, entrepreneurial-based businesses. So the proactive approach to attracting new kinds of business in our city are the kind of businesses that will support our drive and our current, are the kind of businesses that are going to support our small business ecosystem currently, okay? It's how we add to it. It's what's missing. What do we get to add in this moment? And I want the city to be a city of convenience, okay? So again, it's working with our community to find out what is missing in this community. What do we need? Let's go get it. Let's go get it. Let's not wait. Let's go and get it. And so that's a different approach than I know politics operates currently, is a let's be proactive about it, right? Yes. And so I talked about entrepreneurship. All around you'll find these little entrepreneur incubator hubs. I want to have an incubator hub right here in Wilton Manors, bringing opportunity to new startups and small businesses and maybe young people and people of color, minorities and startups. That's where innovation lives, and we need to be a small city of innovation. Not only that, when we're talking about this economic development, we're talking about people who want to develop in our city, right? That I am a firm stand for us being the kind of city that says we are entering into a partnership. We're not going to I want to safeguard our city. We're going to create partnerships with our developers. We're not just going to sell our land to developers. We're going to create long-term projects with people who have a true commitment to our town. And that looks like them, coming in and supporting with infrastructure. If you're going to take a plot of land and you're going to spend X amount of dollars, yes, there's going to be incentives both ways. We're going to negotiate, but you're going to be responsible for the infrastructure below you. Now imagine this. Imagine that we bring in this big techie office, okay? These guys are IT. The city needs to be brought into the modern day. Our IT system, we have 2 IT guys that work for the entire city, okay? Everything is digital, yes? I mean, you're a young guy, so not everyone who's a little bit older understands the need for us to modernize our IT system, our digital capacities. people don't understand that. Some of us who are running in this race right now do understand that. And so a part of our economic development is an investment into our infrastructure, okay? And ensuring that if we're going to attract businesses, why not attract businesses that we can create partnerships with, who can help us grow, we can help them grow. It's a win-win, right? I'm thinking like this because it's a new way of thinking, all right? So there's that, the entrepreneurship. I want to bring fresh blood into the city, young ideas, people who will get energized about this town, feel supported about this town, want to contribute to this town, and that really excites me.
You know, and I love how much passion you have, over this. And last night, you know, we were talking about this amazing idea, and I want you to share about the bike path.
Oh, yeah,
I thought it was, when I heard it, I was like, this is a fantastic idea for businesses as well. So please tell our viewers.
Oh, yeah. So the bike path is this, you know, I can't say that I came up with it on my own. You know, I lived in San Francisco for 3.5 years, and there was a bike path in San Francisco called the Wiggle. It's so cute, right? Yes. It has its own little app, and you can choose your path based on, you know, depending on the level of difficulty that you want, because, you know, San Francisco is a lot of hills and valleys, and you know, not everyone is built for that kind of you know, that pathway. But anyways, you know, I want to work in collaboration with our neighborhood associations. I want to involve them in the process of creating this path through our city. This is an experience of our city, and I want to go ahead and send out an announcement through the town. Okay, I look at this as a small town. You know, we're just under 13,000 people. You know, this is a small village, okay?
Yes.
But I want us to be operating like that. I want us to have that kind of connection that everybody knows each other. And how do we do that? We work together. So a part of working in collaboration with the neighborhood associations to identify what are the highlights of the east side, the west side, central, and then work with the community to say, guys, we have a citywide contest. We're going to name our bike path. And I don't know what the name is going to be, you know, the Wiggled, and we'll get a process to do that. But just imagine this colorful bike path that rides through our city. And through our city on the little app, it highlights different stops, cultural stops, landmarks, history, nature. And just so you know, we're a certified natural habitat here in Wilton Manors. So we have we have 17 parks. We have a lot of environmental gems in the city. So imagine that we have that along this bike path. You can lock your bike, you can jump on a kayak, go through our waterways, get off on another stop, you know, jump out and go, where am I? Oh, look, this is the historical house here. Okay, boom, boom, boom. What is this? Oh, this is, we can stop here for lunch. There's a breakfast over here. So then it spreads out where we are. Then it's going to give more opportunity for new, unique businesses to pop up in different areas of the city as well. When we're incorporating how we experience the city, and we don't try to make this little city like every other city, you know, we're not Fort Lauderdale. We're Wilton Manors. We're not Oakland Park. We're Wilton Manors. And we have a unique community that we get to highlight, and we get to invite people into our space. What makes unique? You know, we have, Wilton Manors has a little tag that says, life's just better here. Well, let's reinforce that tag. Let's make sure that life is just better here. And why? Let's show them why. Let's invite them into our world. And the bike path is, I just think, a really great way. Just imagine, you know, Zach, if you come into the town and you're like with your friends, you have visitors, whatever, you want to go to Wilton, hey, let's go to Wilton Manors, and, you know, they have this great bike path. Maybe it's called the Zip. I don't know what it's called, okay? But zippy, you know, it's like, oh my God, yeah, we can go here. You make a whole day of it in Wilton Manors. Imagine how much revenue that's going to bring into the city just by being fun.
Yes.
I also, in terms of economic development, this town is a celebratory town. I mean, look, I opened a place called Bubbles and Pearls. It was because it was about celebrating life, okay? And so I think about it like this, this celebratory town, what are we going to do about that? We should be the city of festivals. There should be a festival all summer long. Like in New York City, they have this great, they call it the Central Park series. So during the summertime, summer in Central Park, oh my God, it's the best, okay? And it's Central Park, and there's concerts, there's events, there's festivals, there's yoga in the meadows, there's all kinds of things, okay? And you could just imagine. But in order for us to create that in this town, we need somebody we need somebody in the chamber who has seen it, who has vision, who understands what the potential of the city could be. And those are just some of my ideas in terms of economic development. Obviously, we need to grow, and we need to, introduce potentially a boutique hotel. There's a hotel group that's called One Hotel, and they are an environmentally committed hotel group. They're changing the way hotel groups even operate, and that would be a wonderful collaboration, I think, for our city that is has an environmental commitment as well. So I'm being proactive about this. I already know who and when and who we need to talk to. So I just say vote me in and let's get it done, guys,
I mean, I love those ideas, and especially the bike path. And we've spoken a lot about economic development, and we've spoken about community, and I want to get into your third prong, which is, public health and safety.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important because, with COVID really, taking 217,000 Americans right now, and you, of course, have been through it yourself. Describe to me how your vision of public health and safety and how you having COVID impacted that policy and what that means to you.
So, first off, I'd like to tell everyone, please wear a mask. Please wear a mask. We are reopening, and even with a mask, I wore my mask. I was very on top of sanitation and just everything. I mean, I was hypersensitive about my sanitation, and I still contracted COVID-19. COVID-19 is real, regardless of what you're hearing on TV. It affects people in a different way. Each person is affected differently. They don't understand, and they don't have enough information about COVID-19 to really understand how it affects different people. Mm-hmm. I've lost friends who was my co-host on my show, It's Happening Out. We lost him early on, and him and I were sick at the same time, and we had one more person that later on we found out was asymptomatic through it all.
Wow.
So one of us was in the hospital, ICU, on a respirator. I was at home 65 plus days, feeling like the weight of the world on my chest. Every symptom you could think of, unable to taste or smell anything for 28 days, really wondering and worrying about my business. We had to close the business for 2 months. This is real. This is real, and it's really affecting people's lives. And yeah, we're all doing our best to adapt and get back into it, and kind of just power through it, right? That's what we're all doing. We're powering through it. But the reality of it is that this entire process, I mean, for the last 7-8 months, For the last, no, it's actually for the last 9 months. It's like enough time to birth a child.
Yeah.
We have all been living through one of the most challenging moments in the history of probably all of our lives. And I don't think that there will ever be another. I would hope not in my lifetime. This is enough, thank you.
Yeah.
But I think that probably in our lifetime we'll never see something like this again. I hope,
Yeah.
right? But the reality of it is that our lives have been affected. We've lost family and friends. Our economy has tanked. Businesses have shuttered. People have lost their jobs of 20, 30 years. They've lost their pension. They're living off of $200, $300 a week. The rent still, the landlords still want their rent.
Yeah.
The light company still wants their utility bill. Your cell phone still needs to be paid. I don't know if you're still watching cable, but people are still having to spend the money, but the money's not really, so there's more money going out, but there's not really so much money coming in.
Right.
That's a lot in terms of anxiety, in terms of stress. Most people don't even have the skill set to deal with life when it was what it was.
And I like that you mentioned that point because we're alluding to mental health, right?
Yeah.
And I think mental health is really important to shine a light on, especially in Wilton Manors, because it is statistically proven that LGBTQ members have more mental health problems from coming out, from parenthood, societal views, economic views. So how, if you do become mayor, how would you support the members, of this town to really make it through and to really support them with their mental health, not only with what has been going on, but in general?
Yeah. So if anyone visits my website, chefjosie2020.com, and goes to my public health and safety section, you're going to see a initiative that I'm proposing, and it's called the Healthy Manors Initiative. Okay, and the Healthy Manors Initiative is definitely not like any politician, that's for sure. But it's my commitment to our city, a mind, body, spirit approach to our wellness as a city. One thing I learned from having COVID is that health is what we have. The healthy of us have been affected by COVID-19. But why not give ourselves upper hand in this fight that we're all a part of right now against this virus that we don't know how it attacks us? Why not have the strongest immune system? Why not have a healthy lifestyle? So this mind, body, spirit approach to wellness that I'm proposing is my commitment to our city getting through this COVID-19. I'm not going to deny that our city has many challenges with mental health. The LGBTQ community, you spoke into that. It is no secret, right? But I'm going to tell you that this mental health challenge that we're facing is not just as an LGBTQ community. I think everyone is included in this conversation, and I take it even a step further. I think we're missing out, and we're losing focus on our kids in our community. And these are young people. Adults are having a hard time dealing with this, right? Just managing the challenge, the new challenges.
Yes.
Kids, how do they make sense of it all? So again, I'm all about community. I want to tap into our community. We have a lot of health practitioners here in Wilton Manors, different who practice different modalities like meditation, like yoga, like mindfulness, like nutrition, like all of these things that I think are really, really important to the wellness of our community. And we're going to be offering in our 17 parks. We're going to utilize these parks, okay? And we're going to create a calendar of events, and these are going to be free events that are volunteer based from our community. People in our community are doing this already in their own businesses, but they're going to be contributing to this city because we're going to get through this together. The wellness of this community is so important it's so important in us moving forward. I think I'm really the only person who understands that who's running for mayor. And it's not lip service. It's committed action that I'm putting behind that. And I know that world. I know that world very well. I've been practicing a vegan lifestyle. I'm certified in nutrition. I'm a mindfulness coach for youth and adults, and I do this. And I know the power of how it can support all of us in gaining tools to move through this challenging time and come out on the other side, not just surviving it, but thriving through it. I'm introducing the thriving mindset to Wilton Manors, and we can do it together. I have a commitment to our kids, and they get to do it too. They get to thrive in this moment. We get to give them the opportunity to learn and have some early tools to manage life. Our kids are going to be the most prepared kids probably in the country. Yeah, listen, they always say that the phoenix rises from the ashes, right?
Yeah.
And that's just what we need to do. We need to rise out of the ashes, but we need to prepare ourselves to get that done.
I agree. So based on my research, I noticed that you're the only candidate for mayor that owns a business in Wilton Manors. So do you think that is important for the community and for voters to know?
I think it's definitely a point that distinguishes me from the rest of my opponents and the rest of the people who are in the race running for mayor. I think it's important that people recognize that I've invested in this city. People are talking about my political experience and how, maybe Scott Newton has 18 years of experience in the town and the political arena, and Julie Carson has 10 years experience in the town in the political arena. I have almost 5 years experience in this town as a business owner. And if you think that does not involve or entail politics, people are sadly mistaken. I am so grateful to this community for opening their arms and receiving us and supporting us. I mean, we wouldn't be here in the middle of a pandemic open. A lot of businesses have shuttered, but we're still here. And most recently during the pandemic, I bought my partners out. So now my wife and I are the sole owners of Bubbles and Pearls. We have a commitment to being a contribution to this town. And it started 5 years ago. We signed a 10-year lease. And that didn't stop because the pandemic came around and shuttered our business. It didn't stop because I got COVID for 65 days. It didn't stop because this looked very doomy gloomy for a moment, It didn't stop. That commitment didn't stop. The commitment is still there. And the commitment is to this community and being a contribution. I've been a part of many communities, and this is my home. This is where I live, I work, and I play. And there's so much that the city can be. And so when I think about it, I think it's really important that I'm a business owner in this town. I think it's really important that I talk to the people every single day on the ground level, that I hear the concerns of the city all the time. That was before I announced running for mayor. I think it's really important that people feel comfortable coming to me and talking to me about the issues that matter most to them. And I think it's really important that as a business owner, I've always been accessible. You see me on this drive. You see me in this town. I'm not hiding anywhere. I'm not avoiding anyone. Even in the midst of COVID, I put on my little mask, my mask by Carlos Marrero. I have a lot of them. He hooked me up. But this beautiful mask, I put my mask on and I get to work.
Yeah.
And we do it. And we do it because there's a commitment. And, my hat goes off to all the other business owners on the drive who are doing it and doing their best to adapt during this hard time, during these uncertain moments. I take my hat off to all the residents who are also adapting for the first time in for the first time in my experience of the city. I see people willing to work with each other, and this is a great place to start, and it's a great place for me to help carry the torch for the city and move us forward together. I think that the reason why I'm the right candidate for mayor of Wilton Manors is because what you see is what you get. I'm not here to play politics with anyone in this town. I'm here to be real people representing real people. I'm going to be a true, authentic voice for our city. I'm going to listen to our city. And I'm going to engage you. I'm going to invite you to contribute and engage and be a part of the city in a way that we can all have what we want in this town. I'm going to be the bridge for our small business I'm going to be a bridge for our small businesses to City Hall for the first time probably in the history of politics in Wilton Manors. I'm going to be a real influential consensus builder on the commission. We are going to get it done. And we're going to get it done because I'm going to help people see why it's to all of our advantage to get it done. Because I'm a yes. And I'm hoping that I can influence 3 other yeses so we can move things forward in this town. I'm going to be a true representative of the heartbeat of the city, and that's everyone, not just when I said that LGBTQAI+, that includes all of us. That's the straight community, the gay community, and everyone else on the rainbow. That's everyone in this city. And I think I'm the best candidate because you will always be able to find me.
Perfect. Well, Josie, I really want to thank you for joining me this morning. All right. And for all of our viewers at home, thank you so much for watching. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.